Hello, everyone. Happy Sunday. Let's get situated here. Looking good. Okay. It's so funny because when I do one of these lives, it's like the first time that I look in the mirror typically all day. So I'm like, oh, maybe I should have looked before. So anyways, welcome to Melissa's Musings. As you guys know, I am Melissa Steele, real estate agent here in San Diego and helping clients nationwide. And what I'm talking about today is truly how when I stopped having a conversation that I needed to be doing something all on my own, when I was done lone wolfing it, I was able to shift into something that was so much better for myself. And it was a really powerful lesson because for anybody who's seen my musings earlier in the week or at the end of last week, I was not feeling very well. I was having a very bizarre episode of gastroparesis, which is where your intestinal tract basically becomes paralyzed, or your digestive tract, not just your intestines, becomes paralyzed, and it's incredibly painful. Long story short, food looks very similar coming out as it does going in. So it's a very painful situation, and I'm not sure why I was having this episode. But in the past, and my initial response is typically to kind of like have this downward spiral, right? Like the feelings come and I'm feeling sick and I'm in a lot of pain. And so therefore it's like easier to feel like my world is ending. Like, oh my goodness, is this going to last like for the next month? Like, is this now transitioning into the next phase of my sickness? Am I relapsing? It's so easy to like kind of have a very fast downward spiral where I then start to feel really depressed and start to cry and get, like upset. And then my appetite is even less and all of these things. And instead, this time what I did was I was really conscious of the way that I was feeling and the fact that I was experiencing feelings of pain. So like I was not sick, I was experiencing feelings of sickness. So instead of identifying myself with like I am sick or I'm relapsing, really being conscious of the fact, okay, I'm experiencing feelings of sickness. Another huge thing, which I had a whole musing on a few days ago, was giving my permission to really feel and like to have a meltdown. And so like there was one day where I was doing what's called a castor oil pack, and I didn't want to do one because it'd been a year and a half since I did the last one, and I was so resistant to it, and I was like, screw it. I get to cry and have like a little moment for myself. I get to feel sorry for myself for like 20 minutes. And I did, and it was cleansing and freeing. And what was really powerful, I think the biggest shift that I had in this past episode that I've been facing was the fact that I was honest with the people in my life as to what was going on. I shared that I had been feeling really conflicted in the Melissa's Musing space because of the fact that I felt as though I hadn't been completely honest. I was coming on here all cheery and trying to prepare myself to arrive to the camera in a certain state that wasn't genuinely how I was feeling. And so instead of doing that and being ingenuine, I chose to be vulnerable and share the difficulty that I was going through. And what that opened up for me was not only the space to support other people also going through difficult times. I got so many messages from people who are struggling from invisible illness or invisible pain, or spouses of people struggling with invisible illness and pain. And so not only did I get the opportunity to support them, which focusing out automatically makes me feel better, but I was given the opportunity to be supported. By letting people know what was actually going on in my life, the fact that I wasn't peachy keen, the fact that I felt like shit, the fact that I was having trouble keeping my food down, when I was truly honest and genuine and vulnerable with the people around me, I was able to receive the support that I needed. I was able to receive the good vibes. I was able to receive the "you've got this, Melissa," the check-ins, the support, the "how are you taking care of yourself? What can I take off of your plate?" I was given all of that, and it was really amazing. And in the past, I haven't allowed myself to be supported in that way because I've hidden. I've been embarrassed about my sickness. I've not wanted people to know that, I didn't want people to judge me, long story short. I didn't want my clients to see it and think, oh, Melissa can't do the job that she promised to me because she's sick. Or for a friend to be like, oh, I can't reach out to Melissa, she's not feeling well. So I had all these ego conversations in my head of, they're going to think less of you. This is embarrassing. Nobody wants to hear about your pain. And I was able to bust through those things, deliver my message to my audience. As hard as it was, honestly, one of the hardest things, really being vulnerable about where I am with my health, is something that sometimes I'm in denial about. So what it really allowed me to do was to be open and honest with everyone in my life, and therefore be really open and honest with myself. And instead of that downward spiral that I've seen so many times for myself in the past, it was like a completely opposite situation. It was an upward spiral. So the very first moment that I shared that I wasn't feeling well, I started to feel so much support. And so my mindset was in a great place, and I started to feel a little bit elevated. And because my mindset was in such a great place, before I went to bed every night, I set the intention, you're going to feel a little bit better tomorrow. Even if it's just a little bit better, even if you're able to eat 50 more calories than you were yesterday, it's going to be a huge bonus. You're going to feel better tomorrow. And I'd rise a little bit each day. Until 2 days ago, Friday morning, I woke up a little bit hungry. And yesterday, I woke up starving. And today, I woke up ravenous. And so I'm crying, or on the verge of crying, because never have I been so grateful to be hungry. Usually these episodes last a lot longer. And the fact that it only lasted a week this time was such a godsend and such a gift. And I attribute it a lot to the mindset and to the positive cycle that I allowed myself to be in. Instead of like subjecting myself to a downward spiral, to something that wouldn't have served me, to a really negative mindset, of the question, is this a relapse? Do I need to start getting testing? And believe me, I had those moments. They did arise many times. And what I did was I called for coaching. I called for support. I called friends that I knew are super knowledgeable in health and wellness, and they kept me right on track. They were like, sister, no, you get to do this, or you get to do that, and you get to be supported in this capacity. So it was so powerful for me. Thanks for watching, Kara. I see you on here. I was talking to Kara about this earlier. Like, what's been so powerful for me about this particular episode has been sharing. And so often, many of us feel as though like us sharing how we're really doing is going to burden other people. And what's really powerful about recognizing that that's a completely bullshit conversation is the fact that we don't have to walk through life continually just being like, yeah, I'm good, everything's fine. Like, genuinely, if you want to connect with people and connect with them on like a one-on-one, vulnerable, true as ever, like legitimate basis, you get to be vulnerable. And so what I learned this week was really powerful because the vulnerability allowed me to be supported. It allowed me to support. And despite the ego conversation telling me that everyone was going to think I was a loser or weak because I get sick or not able to do my job properly or whatever it could have looked like thanks to the ego conversation, I was given the gift of knowing that I'm powerful enough to, one, shift out of the sickness into what's waiting for me, the health. So shifting out of the really bad episode, shifting into being hungry, shifting into allowing my body to rest and, self-care and all those things. So that was my message for today, you guys. It was a really important realization because think about what might be hiding in your life, what you might not be willing to share with other people right now, and why. Ask yourself why. Because when I asked myself why, for a while I'd had this conversation like, I don't want to talk about my sickness on Melissa's Musings. Nah. And when I asked myself why, the reason wasn't supportive to me. It was because I was embarrassed. It was because I was afraid of what people were going to think of me. It was because I was fearful. It was a fear-based decision. And so when I got crystal clear on that, it was really easy to shift into what was possible. So I love you guys. Hoping you're having a fantastic Sunday. Kara, I love you. I love you, girl. Kara is one of my fellow SIBO stomach buddies. We have had a very similar health journey and are always there for each other. And she is like, oh my goodness. I used her for support this week. Let's just put it that way. I love you guys. Hope you're having an amazing Sunday, and I will talk to you soon.